What is going on, guys and gals? Brooklyn bound the raid scientist here, and today, as Season of the Hunt and the release season of Beyond Light comes to a close, I wanted to take some time to bring you my final thoughts on the Deep Stone Crypt raid, its difficulty, the loot, and where I rank it, and answer some of those burning questions that have been plaguing the community like, is it too easy? Question mark? If you recall, I posted a video about 6 months ago where I ranked my top 5 Destiny raids, and stick to the end to see where I'd put this one on that list. If you're new here, or maybe a frequent viewer and you haven't yet subscribed, please click the red button below to help support the channel. It's 100% free, and it will connect you to the channel for all of your Destiny content needs. So, the Deep Stone Crypt, the birthplace of the Exo and Clovis Bray's hidden facility upon Europa, is our first raid since Garden of Salvation in the fall of 2019. It definitely delivered some cool surprises, decent loot, and some beautiful scenery. Bungie never fails when it comes to the ambiance, art, design, and aesthetics from their raid team. Deep Stone Crypt hits all of these to a T. The design of the Blizzard sequence at the beginning, riding the space pods to and from the crypt in the space station, the absolute stunning scenery of the outer spacewalk, and of course everyone's favorite score, Deep Stone Lullaby, the crashing ship, and then the wreckage that ensues is all so well designed and rendered you can't help but feel part of something great and a key piece in an epic story. With all that said, let's jump into the meat and bones of what truly makes a raid special, replayable, and high on my list for enjoyment. Where does it rank for you? Drop a comment below, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where Deep Stone Crypt ranks all time for you for Destiny raids. First, let's cover the most important topic, and that's the loot. Finally, Bungie delivered a raid with meaningful rewards and perks that cannot be acquired anywhere else. Deep Stone Crypt has by far the best weapon set and perks of any Destiny 2 raid, and the weapons are 100% worth grinding for, and even regrinding for the god rolls. I don't take that comment lightly, but there has been no other Destiny 2 raid that has delivered better weapons in my opinion than this one. The new perks like Reconstruction, Recombination, Wellspring, etc. are all top tier and makes me actually want to keep grinding the encounters for more opportunities at them. The Scout Rifle is the first Scout Rifle I've wanted to use since like D2 Vanilla. The armor? In my opinion, it's alright. The aesthetic isn't something I gravitate towards, and honestly, I haven't gotten any crazy good rolls on armor that make it any better than armor anywhere else in the game at the moment. This is one big issue I know Bungie has addressed and is working towards making improvements on in 2021, that armor needs to feel special again. And getting another 57 stat roll chest piece with like +8 stats across the board just ain't it. Just ain't it. Eyes of Tomorrow, the exotic rocket launcher from the raid, might not be top DPS meta or anything, but it is still very good. It's super fun and useful in Gambit and Crucible, and if you're not doing endgame sweaty PvE like Grandmasters, it's still really good to use. I have to say though, I am a bit disappointed this exotic isn't guaranteed on a flawless completion like I've said before, or you can't purchase it for like something crazy like 500 special Deep Stone Crypt spoils or something. I just don't like the fact that poor RNG can come into play here, but I do understand that Bungie wants to protect the sanctity of their loot system. It just stinks that sometimes you could go 30 or 40 looted runs to get the raid exotic, and some people get it on their first try. Other people have completed the flawless 3-man, 2-man, 40 looted runs, have max spoils, and still don't have it. But I digress. Let's talk about the difficulty next. I think this is where Deep Stone Crypt drops the ball a little bit. I understand Bungie has to balance raids to be enjoyable for less experienced players, but at the same time, these are the pinnacle endgame content for PvE players. We need something more difficult. Period. I do not understand why we can't have a hard mode raid, or a raid with Grandmaster style modifiers if designing a hard mode raid is too developer resource stringent. Have you ever tried wiping on the crypt security encounter on purpose? You can stand in like a pile of 10 dregs. They literally won't kill you. It's easier to go into your menu, find a grenade launcher, and shoot the ground just to kill yourself. The AI, it seems, in this raid, maybe even more so than other raids, is just kinda dumb. It doesn't feel like endgame to me, at least. I die from adds and standard enemies 50 times faster in things like Pit of Heresy, Lost Sectors, or even Nightfalls on normal levels than this raid. I will say, Bungie did do a great job of this raid by balancing mechanics with enemies. Raids like Spire of Stars and Garden of Salvation were just way too heavy on the mechanics and were much more difficult for less experienced raiders, and Deep Stone Crypt offers roles for the more experienced players to do, while also leaving areas for less experienced players to still play a key role. Overall though, endgame raiding community just wants a harder mode, with some different things to grind for. I'd even be happy with a contest modifier mode that rewarded things like shaders, emblems, ornaments for weapons, emotes. It doesn't even have to be new weapons. Just give us something to challenge ourselves more. Please, Bungie. Please. Finally, I'm sorry, I have to say it, but the final boss of this raid is simply too easy. I may get some comments roasting me for this, but it just doesn't feel as much of a final boss as Sanctified Mind or Galran, Valkor, Oryx, Axis, etc. He flies around, you shoot him to drop some bombs, you dunk him, and then you melt him with your extra damage window for doing 4 cores, and it literally takes an experienced team like 3 to 4 minutes tops to do, and it just doesn't feel like that epic climactic encounter of a raid that we've had in the past. I like the premise of the fight, but I feel like adding a few more mechanics, increasing the adds, making them a little bit smarter, and extending the DPS cycles to more than just one would make this fight go a long ways in making it more difficult. Where to next? How about the story and the lore? The story of Clovis Bray, his creation of the Exo, and Aramis's desire to wield the darkness is a very enjoyable and interesting story I can definitely get behind. The lore of the Clovis AI triggering to crash the space station into Europa to prevent the Deep Stone Crypt from being breached is a really cool aesthetic and one of my favorite encounters to do. I have to say, the boss being yet another form of Taniks is kind of a missed opportunity. I feel like maybe another converted Fallen of Exo of Aramis or some type of super AI that Clovis has could have been a more worthy opponent, but it is what it is. However, the story sequences that were even unlocked after the raid finishes, like the Lament quest, learning Clovis's true identity, and then the Stranger and Elsie Bray's story all tie in together nicely. Overall, Bungie did an excellent job bringing this raid into the main storylines of the expansion, which I feel is completely lost with Garden of Salvation. It was so hard to understand how it fit into the Shadowkeep story, but with Deep Stone Crypt, the dialogue and how the raid is embedded into the rest of the expansion gives players a much stronger sense of they're truly a key piece in this story unfolding. Overall, Deep Stone Crypt is an enjoyable experience with great loot, a cool story, and a fun destination that takes you through a frozen tundra, a space station, and then crashing back into Europa. The experience is there, the balance of mechanics versus easier roles gives it a lot of viability to newer players, and I simply just enjoy running it. I've cleared Deep Stone Crypt already more times than Garden of Salvation, and it's only been out a few months. So, how does it stack up to my current top 5 list, though? As there are some very heavy hitters that rank very highly on that list that Deep Stone Crypt has to compete with. At the end of the day, after running the raid over 50 times, getting all the triumphs, loot, and secrets, I think I'd have to rank this raid around 5th or 6th on my personal list. The difficulty factor and the final boss selection unfortunately drops below the likes of King's Fall and Last Wish. I just didn't feel like the Taniks encounter was as epic and enthralling as Ribbon or Oryx. The loot, as I stated earlier, is a huge plus for this raid though, and in my opinion, the best raid loot in Destiny 2. And I certainly hope that Bungie can continue emphasizing the importance of raid loot in both the Vault of Glass remake and the Witch Queen raid, which will, I can only assume, have Savathun as the final boss. Who's ready for that, by the way? The replayability is there, it's fun, it has a great feel and beautiful scenery. and ranking it as high up as I have is a testament to the great work done here by Bungie without the help of Vicarious Visions or Activision. Thanks for watching my thoughts all the way through, and please leave a positive rating if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time, Guardians, and until then, best of luck.